Hi, welcome. I forgot that happens because I'm using my phone for all of that. So, so today's stream, we're starting on a board game, and it's called Kingdom Death. Sorry, I almost blanked there for a moment. So, this is the book that comes with the game. Come on. There we go. This is the book that comes with the game that tells you of the lore of the beginning of the game. It sets up the whole, it sets the stage, and then you can follow it through with the rest of it. And I just wanted to show y'all before we get started on the mini um, what the story consists of. And it's a really, really dark game, and it's one of those to where you have to have friends to play this and continue it. But I can see it happening like with a lot of like D&D groups, the stereotypical like, oh well, we'll meet up, and then it just kind of dissolves. But this, you really have to have a continuing party because it's supposed to be very difficult as well. A lot of people don't get past the first monster, and then they have to start all over again and figure it out. But I just wanted to show y'all this is the beginning of. This is just the front of the book, and we got this actually. I believe it was a fundraiser that they did, and we. Oh, brain. We put a little bit of money to help them create this, and so all the creatures and playable characters and everything, they come as pogs, and you put them together. So it's also a build your own kind of deal. And as you continue on in the game, you'll either replace the character or whatever as you get different armors and things like that. But you all start out as almost what they're called survivors, I think. Anyways, let's continue. I'm starting to go on a tangent. I'm sorry for any of the camera work. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. Also, the lore on this is just the first opening page. The lore on this is that a lot of the area, it's almost like a continuous cycle of human beings being used in some way, shape, or form. So it's going to get really dark really quick. And you'll see the future, no pun intended. Alright, so this is the beginning part. That's an introduction on how to play. Together, Monster is played by 1 to 4 characters. Together, players will hunt and fight monsters, including what they scavenge to grow a small settlement. Each player typically plays as one survivor, and the players take turns controlling the monsters. This game is cooperative. Players are encouraged to make long-term and split-second decisions as a group, pooling their efforts to protect their future. Monster is designed to be played as a campaign. Groups of players will return to the same settlement and even the same survivors over the course of several play sessions. Simply pick up where you left off the last time you played. You can play with the same group of people each time or swap in new friends. Monster is a miniatures hobby game. An important component of this game is assembling, customizing, and painting your miniatures. To begin playing, you only need to assemble the 4 starting survivors and the first monster, the White Lion. And this is the White Lion right here. These are the 4 characters, and we'll be painting this one today. You get 2 females and 2 males. So it says also 5 to 6 player variant appears later in this book. And they don't recommend starting there, of course. It gets really difficult. So you'll see quickly that a lot of this illustration It's really detailed. Here, hold on. Alright, so this is the prologue. This is, you get like a little storybook to these characters. This is, once upon a time, there was a place of carved stone faces. A man with a lantern lay sleeping, a dreamless sleep. The man knew nothing. One day the man woke up. He rubbed the dried ink caked over his eyes and opened them. Around him he saw other people stirring, and beyond a horizon of unbroken darkness. A woman approached the man with the lantern, her soft hand reaching out to him. They had no words. They were a mystery to each other. Suddenly, a monster emerged from the darkness, its eyes wild with hunger. It attacked. The people were no match for the monster. It tore their flesh and crushed their bones between its teeth. Some it devoured whole. Overcome with terror and grief, the man with the lantern collapsed to the ground. Cold stone noses pushed into his side. There was no escape. But the man did not want to die. Desperately grasping at the cold stone faces, he felt a crack and tore at it with all of his might. A piece of stone came free. It was sharp and deadly. The man with the lantern scrambled to his feet, his weapon clenched in his fist. He took a deep breath and roared into the darkness. Somewhere in the place of stone faces, nameless men and women stand together. They have nothing but a need to survive and a lantern to light their struggle. And that is the prologue. So it kind of takes you step by step of assembling some of the miniatures. Sorry, I'm making sure that I got all the information. Alright, and for the prologue, the first story is designed to guide the 4 survivors through the first encounter with a monster. If they prevail, they will create a brand new settlement. Players are meant to play as they read and learn the game. By the end of this prologue, you should understand the core rules of gameplay, complete your first showdown, create your settlement, and be ready for campaign play. During the prologue, questions may arise that are not completely addressed in this section. The aim of the prologue is to get you playing, so feel free to make decisions and mistakes. Full game rules that follow the prologue address the deeper nuances of gameplay once you've got the hang of the basics. So, everything I read to you, that's supposed to be your first campaign. And then you continue from there. And there's so much more to this. How you're supposed to create the survivors and how you're supposed to put attributes and everything to it. It's literally D&D, but it's a board game. And that's just me putting it in layman's terms. I'm sure that there's a lot more information to it. It does have, certain effects and everything, how things are supposed to be taken care of. There's add-ons in the actual game, if you wanted to, where it's these squares and how they're able to move. Takes you through the different phases that you need to know about, different milestones. These are basically these are your survivors. And this is the artwork that we have for our first people. And so, just because this is already based out, I'm going to use these colors, but I'm going to take a little inspiration from what I've seen other artists do for these minis. And I'm going to work with ambient lighting effect. So while I'm telling you this story, I was just waiting for like little bits of one of them for my first layer of paint to dry, my base layer, so I can show you how I'm going to get an ambient light. But yeah, like there's a whole thing about it. Then you got a section full of monsters and what you're supposed to do with them. But as you saw, I'm just going to leave it there, and as we continue, we'll figure out what part of the book that we can address. And let me just put this aside. The first monster that you're going to approach is the White Lion, and this is just a finished put together piece that I did. So when I say that they come in like the pogs, it's like the big plastic frames that you break off the pieces and put them together. And I took some 2-part epoxy and I filled in the cracks where they're connected just because it's my own personal preference. So all of those were separate and you have to put them together. What was it? Words. If you notice like how I was saying certain parts in these games, they're kind of humanistic. If you notice like his paws, they're not really paws for his front hands. Everything is just ever so slightly awkward. And this is supposed to be the size of the lion compared to your survivor. So it was this woman, and she has the brunette hair, and she's a little tan, so that'll be the colors that we'll go for today. But I'm also doing a repaint of these because when I did these beforehand, I feel like I can do better now. So this was the first guy that I did, the one that's supposed to wake up first. And he's supposed to be very pale, and he has the ink caked on his eyes. So, I'm sorry. Yeah. But the way that this is, like, you can go ahead and just paint these all, like, you know, here's the skin tone, and then there's the fabric, and so on and so forth. I wanted to play with a little bit of the ambient light on the light reflecting onto the body, because as far as we know, they are in a world of darkness, and that's it. There's heat, but there's no light except for these lanterns. So that was the idea that we were going to go with. We settled on some inspiration from other artists, and some of them use like the warmer yellow light, but we kind of wanted to go with the cooler blue light to make it a little bit more ominous, because with the other monsters that we have, there's some color palette ideas that we want to go with those, that this will just kind of work into. So, with that, and me drawing on, let's get started on our other mini. So, actually, real quick, let me show you. These are the other two. And this one I had almost finished as well. And then this one was supposed to be one of the last ones. But I think I can do a little bit better this time. I don't know. And if you notice, the floor is made out of stone faces. And that's supposed to be their never-ending, just, that's what they're walking on. That is their environment. Just darkness and a floor full of stone faces. Also, I do have that donation bar up. It's just for a merchandise bar, or merchandise goal. I'm wanting to make stickers out of current artwork that I'm doing. And I'm almost finished with the Halloween Chibi Monsters. And I would like to be able to make those into sticker sheets in order to give to you guys. So if we can fundraise at least 50, we can get that going. And the max on there is just to help with any other future merchandise. So everything that is made from that is going towards merchandise. Alright, let's get started. I also want to preface that these are the materials that I'm using on the left side of the screen. You do not have to use those materials in order to miniature paint, because when I first started, I was using Folk Art brand paint. Some of it is a little bit thinner, and you have to take a little bit more time and maybe more layers to get the color that you want, but that is the only drawback of it. So these are just highly pigmented, and it takes less to do more. But if you're just starting and you don't need to spend, $100, $200 on a paint set, then you can use Folk Art brand or basic acrylics or something, that are good quality ones. Nothing crazy. You can get those little cheap bottles of paint and do exactly the same thing. Alright, so I've already base painted her. There's still some areas where some of the original color was there, but I'm not too worried about that. I base painted her in the Stuart Simple Black 2.0. It is one of the blackest blacks paints. And if you don't know who Stuart Simple is, you should look him up, because he is an artist for artists. And he's not playing the game of money makes you an artist. I'm just going to take some white acrylic paint, because the paint that I have in here, I prefer to use that if I want to do eyes or something, but if I'm just going to do ambient lighting, I'll just do this. Yeah, no, that story, I think it was one of those tiers, almost like a Patreon. It was like a GoFundMe. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And that's just the beginning. There's so many more monsters, which with this series, I hope to continue showing these. Some of them are going to be maybe, I know the last one that we do is going to be a 5-parter. They get huge. But the GoFundMe, if you invested so much, then you got the game. And that's what we did. Alright, so with this ambient lighting, I'm just going to go ahead and put white on this lantern, so I can remind myself that this is the light source. Alright. And then as we do this, you're just going to dry brush. So you get a little bit of paint, dab it off until you still get paint, but you can almost see through it. Yeah, go ahead and send it to me. I won't be able to look at it till afterwards, though. Alright, so this is the light source. And it would be with Almost like how you put, when you were a kid, you would put the sun off into the corner or something. That's where your light source would be. So you need to understand that the shadows are on the opposite side. And so I'm just going to dry brush this. And I do wish that I had an airbrush, because airbrush makes the lighting softer. Like the fade is nicer. Now, I already know that on this leg there's an area where it's not quite correct, but I can go over that. Actually, where's the one? I think I might use a different brush. I'm going to use this guy, so he's a little bit longer, so I have a little bit more reach. Making sure that the light source is matching up with the edges of these. And I want it a little more intense than what they would show in the game. I want it a little unnatural for the sake of what the glow is, but also to show the details in the in the minis. That's the word. also have to think of reflecting light. So like this is where the light source is coming from and where it's going, but then this is still going to create a light on this arm. So I have to go a little bit underneath and get that done. This is where I'm going to come back with that square brush. Just so I can get those faces on the base. So that's what it's starting to look like. I'll see if I can get a good focus on it in a minute. Take a little bit of this black I did for the base coat. I'm just going to fix up certain areas. I'm dry brushing so it gets that nice fade. So this is the light, but it's on a metal base, so there would be a spot still to where it would have darker coloring. This is basically what you would use in general if you wanted to bring any form of, let me back up. Black bases will make your colors have a darker tone all around. A white base will have you have your characters in a lighter tone, and anything in gray is going to give you a good mid-tone, just everything is true to color. So, and it's the same with any, that's why you'll see some artists actually have like a gray palette or something, like a paint palette that they'll put their colors on, just so that they can see the true colors. Or you'll see like the toned paper, it's the same thing. This will also help you get your shadows and your lights, and it's very faint, but it helps so much with the final look. Not too worried about crevices and everything, because once I do a wash, I'm going to be doing it in a black wash anyways. So all those crevices that you see, those will get a good detail. I think that'll do that. There's still some areas to where the light is a little bit past, but I kind of want that there so I can show off the detail of the character. Because see, let's see, like just her hair structure right there is really nice. Let me see if I can do this. There we go. You can see the details in the fabric. And even with the shadows, you can still see the amount of detail that they have for the whole character. But for these guys, kind of wanted to keep it in that light. Alright, so, let's see. Double check on her skin tone, see if I have something, or if I need to pre-mix any colors. So she's going to be a bit of like a brunette redhead, like an auburn color. Yeah, she's a redhead, she has green eyes, and she has a slight tan, but she's still on the pale side. Yeah, she's not as pale as the guy, though. So she has a lot more warmer tones. Let's get those guys going. I think she has like almost this color, barbarian flesh, and maybe lighter in some areas. I think this is a good base. And I basically have to dry brush these as well to make sure that nothing goes overboard. Since these are highly pigmented. If I need to, I'll just use the black again to clean up anything. I think she's coming along. We got some good highlights. We kept that base color towards the back since it's not going to be too much of a difference. And let's see. Give her little bits of color in her cheeks. Not a lot, just enough. Let's see, actually. Just enough to break up a little bit of that color. So I had these trial paints, and to make this color, I did a little bit of Dragonfire Red from the D&D brand, the Bugbear Brown in the D&D brand, and mixed that with the War Paints, what's it called? The Barbarian Flesh color, with a little bit of the white, so it was still the same color. And created a nice, like, fleshy pink right here. I'll reiterate, or what's the word? I'll redefine those highlights because I didn't think about blush until just now, so just putting it in the preferred places for me. So I like to do it on the kneecaps, a little bit on the fingers, put it on the cheeks a bit to give her face a little bit of color, and a touch on the lips just to give her a little bit more definition. Put a little bit of the blush on her toes as well, and I think I'll add a touch right here. Oh yeah, and a little bit on the elbow. Because even when I'm drawing, I tend to just put them in the joints areas, in places that just need a little bit of definition. Yeah, that'll be good. So now she has a little bit of pink. Now I'll take that paler skin tone. I was just adding a little bit of white, the War Paint, Barbarian Flesh. Make it match what I had last time. Just kind of dry brush and reiterate, or reapply right here. So now her thigh right there has some good definition for that light. And I'm putting a lot of work into this, and I'm still not sure if it's going to show up in the final thing because afterwards we're putting that blue hue on top of everything. But this is just me trying to figure out these things again. Putting a little bit of that highlight. On her face. That went a little overboard, but I'll clean it up. Yeah, just a little bit of that. Her face. Gives her a little bit more, brings the sculpt out a bit more. That's what I'm trying to, with words. Words are hard. Alright. For, let's see. For the cloth, we're just going to use mummy robes. Excuse me, mummy robes. And we'll darken that with something. I think it kind of works the way it is. Let's see what reds we got. Yeah, it's mostly a red tone. So let's go with a Dragon Red by Warpaints. And we'll use a brown to kind of anchor it. Let's see how this works out. Oh, that didn't mix well. It's starting to separate. Yeah, that is too. Not trying to use a lot though either. Maybe a hint of black. No, I think I liked it before. I'll just add a little bit more red to that. Yeah, there we go. I'm keeping it more like that true red. Yeah, that red is really nice. Has very thin brows. That kind of fixes it. So she has a little bit of a face now. Let's see. So I'm going to take some of this black and I'm watering it down a bit. I want to create the ink on her eyes. I know that they wipe it away, but I want something still to have like around the eyes. And I gotta work from back to front on that. I'm just gonna dab it on there. Kind of haphazardly because it wasn't neat. That was on there. I'm just gonna have like 2 black holes. I'm gonna kind of dab some coming down. And then I'm gonna take the brush and wipe some away. Now she'll have the ink left over on her face. let me see if I can find a slightly smaller one. Yeah, there we go. Take some of this white paint. Dab some off. This will be a little bit of back and forth for me because my hands are a little shaky today. Don't know why. Yep, it's going to be a little bit of back and forth. That's fine with the black right there. I can just kind of etch it out. So I can just take a little bit more of that black. Create the eye shape that I want. There we go. That little bit of white that's on our hair. I can just put some more of that red right there. And this is me kind of challenging myself to see what I can do with this guy. Yes. I don't think I have a small enough brush. I'm kind of going at it the hard way with this one, but I might have to customize one of my brushes in order for it to fit. Be small enough to make eyes. I'll have to fix her eyes later. If I focus on it too much, it'll just be back and forth. So they're a little wonky right now, but oh well. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do the fabric. Shadows by Warpaint, and I'm basically just going to paint in the same direction on this fabric that I did for that highlight to make sure it hits all of those places. That's going to be pretty much it for that. So I think some of the shadows help that along. Or let's see, actually. We'll look into that in a minute. Let's work on some of the stone. It looks rather white or gray. Yeah, it's like a dark gray. With hits of highlights and everything. So let's make it gray. I'm just going to use the Mummy Rose, just because it's a nice, almost like a tone white. There we go. Forget how powerful that black is because it's so pigmented. I'm just going to do the same thing on these guys. So it's a nice gray. The white that I had on there, I know that I pretty much covered it up, but that also helps me remember where the light's coming from. Take a little bit of the pure white, add it to this. Put it around in these areas. And it's getting a little bit brighter. Oh, I almost forgot. The weapon in her hand is the same type of rock. So I'm just going to do the same thing where I'm painting in the direction of the light. I'm going to take a little bit of that light gray. Alright, let's see. So for the lantern, I know I want it to be metal. And I'm leaning towards black. It's not a silver, gold, or anything like that. I'm leaning towards a metallic black for the sake of if it's like iron or something. And that looks like a correct route to go from just like the artwork. Excuse me. My hair is also itching my nose. But from the artwork that they have for the characters. So I have this black gold from Stuart Simple, so it's going to have a little bit of an extra thing. It has some gold metallics in there, but the base of it is black. I'm just going to paint around the light source kind of deal. Actually, I should be doing this after I solidify the color of the lamp with the light. No matter. I'll just get these ends and then fine tune and get the details later. There. I'll just paint the whole bottom of this right here, because that'll allow me to get into the crevices. Let's make our light. I think what I'm going to go with is Void Shield Blue. For like, it's going to be a mostly blue color, but with a hint of green. And it's going to be a jungle green. My hair. that jungle green is going to give it a little bit of that neon feel. Yeah, I think that'll do good. So this is where a little bit of the fun starts. So fun, very lightly. And it's where we're basically going to dry brush the light on everything that you painted, basically almost painting over everything. I think we got this. Again, you're just going to get some paint, dab off enough of it to where it's almost streaky. Then you're just going to dry brush where the light would go. And I'm kind of just hitting the highlights so the color of whatever it's on still shows. So I got too much water in my brush.
We should better wait here. I'll be back in 10 minutes.
Even 10 minutes is a long time to be away from
A little bit of this white, a little bit of that blue. Lighten it up a bit. And we'll get some of that concentrated light. So we get that contrast. That's supposed to diffuse. That's pretty much what I want for the body. Not 100%. Let's get there real quick. I'm going to use a little bit of this soft tone because I'm going to be using a dark tone or like a black tone for everything else. But I want some of this for the soft tone for the fabric to make it a little bit different. So we can actually have some variety. And what I like to do is I put a drop on there and it's very concentrated and a little bit thicker than what I would like. So I just wet my brush and whatever water's on there, just kind of take a little bit and add it to my brush. Yeah, and as you see, kind of creates its own tint to all of that. I have a little bit more control on what shadows I would like to show. Just dabbing in certain areas with the more concentrated, give it a little bit more definition. I think what I'm going to do, take this brush, take a little bit of that black. I'm just going to paint over these areas right here. as that dries, I'll take that square brush again that I had. I'm just going to take a little bit of black and kind of dry brush again to solidify those shadows once more, just to make sure. So right now, this is what we got. Yeah. Right now, this is what we got. That light is way too harsh. Maybe that's the problem. So maybe I can pick up better. And trying to see if I can focus with my camera. Oops. I can't get too close. This is what we got. Definitely think that my lighting work could be better, but it's a lot better than what it was. Alright. Actually, I'm going back and forth a lot in my head of what I should do next. But I really need to make sure that I get these eyes. I got way too much white on there, but yeah, that's what I got now. That's a little wonky, but like if you just put like the dots of the eyes first and then you can shape them out, it's better if you're able to do that. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so take a little bit of that black again. Let's finish up the lamp real quick. Let that layer dry a bit. I think we're done with that guy now. Sorry, I was just seeing what colors I got. Or the next color I needed. And it's for her eyes. Yeah, good night. Yeah. The eyes. We're gonna have Wizard's Orb. I'm not going crazy detail, even though some people would call this crazy detail. But this should finish it up for the night. Besides a wash. I'll post the finished project on my Instagram just because I want to make sure that this dries completely before I put on a wash to finish the whole thing. And that's just because if I go any longer, I think my voice might give out because it's already kind of rough and I'm starting to feel a little bit of pain. And I ran out of my favorite tea, so I have no warm drinks right now. Might have to wait a little bit for her eyes. But a quick little tip is my brushes and everything that I use, a lot of them are just cheap brushes that you can find in any craft store. Specifically, like Michael's was one of them, and this is not sponsored or anything. But the brushes that I use are usually like in the stamping or craft paint area with like the folk art brands and stuff. And you can buy like packs of 10 for like $5, and they're super cheap, so you don't have to worry about like not destroying them. But they also are near a lot of the clay artwork or clay kits, and if you want to be able to get like a nice fine tip on something, or need to get into like, I use, you know how when you're doing nails or something they tell you use a toothpick to get the circles? I'm kind of using that, but this is a silicone brush and it has a chisel tip, and you would usually use this to carve or to mold around with, like, you can see how flexible it is, mold around clay and stuff. But this is on the cheaper version. It came in a pack of like, I think 6. But this, you can use that very tip part right there and just get a little bit of paint and be able to just guide it. And so you have a finer point. You don't have to worry about frayed bristles or anything. You can just use this guy. And it has a little bit of squish, so it applies it. You have to make sure that it doesn't spread too much, but it's the same thing. Like, it has a little bit of squish, and it's going to adhere and kind of do a little bit of a force behind it, besides a brush where it might dry in between the bristles or something in between there. But, yeah, this is not finished, but I will post a finished product on my Instagram, and you can follow that link in my About section. But yeah, I think we're going to leave it at this tonight because, again, like I said, my throat is getting kind of sore from talking so much. Ironically, because I don't feel like I talked a lot today. But yeah, I think that'll be it for tonight. Alright, again, this will be a continued series with the Kingdom Death minis. And so the next time, I think I'm going to do this guy. So we're going to paint our first monster encounter. I'm going to do these guys behind the scenes just so I can knock these out. And then we'll get on to this guy. Anyways, besides that, I'm going to leave the music playing for a little while so you don't have to like completely go away. You can have me on in the background. But yeah, thank you for joining. Thank you for the support. If you see my other artwork and everything, I have a donation button that you can go to. I'm currently raising money so I can do a sticker pack so I can sell them to all my supporters. But yeah, if you donate, then you'll get a free sticker pack for my new Halloween girls. Actually, that's what I'm doing. My Halloween chibi art girls. But yeah, thank y'all for joining. I'm repeating myself. So yeah, thank y'all. Y'all have a good evening. I'll be back on Monday at 3 to continue drawing chibis.